He is a professional distorter of reality. This is his scam.
There are on subways a lot of crazy people.
It's one thing to say, listen, we have the lowest number of shooters and homicides in the first 6 months of this year. But if people are not feeling safe, it does no good for anyone. Mamdani policies are dangerous for New York and the gang that he hangs out with, the DSA. The DSA, they do not like our way of life. And for leg room, I was facing 33 years in prison.
Do you have a take on the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad campaign?
I think that we've become too politically correct.
Mayor Adams, Drew's a big e-biker. He's always e-biking.
Okay,
He's mad they lowered the speed.
Mad they lowered the speed limit, 18 to 50.
Yes, love it, love it. Yeah, it was getting out of control.
I'm so happy you lowered the speed. It is out of control.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be one of the questions today. Because even on a one-way street, you've got to look both ways now. They're going fast.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But, you know, people like him, they just love to... You just-
Love it.
All right, well, we're ready to get going in a second if you are. Wonderful.
How do you split your working time between here and Gracie Mansion?
Gracie Mansion is the official residence for the mayor. And if normally it's really the better way to look at it is how much I spend my time out in the field than either location. Normally I'm at Gracie Mansion if I'm going to do a quick interview or going to sleep, or I'm here if there's some type of action to meet with team. But other than that, I'm in the streets all the time. Like yesterday, we had the Legionnaire's disease outbreak in Harlem. And there were just a lot of different rumors. People were calling me stating that, oh, I shook someone's hands that was coughing. Can I catch Legionnaires? And I said, wait a minute, we need to get the facts out. And so we spent time in Harlem handing out just simple explanations around Legionnaire's disease. And it just helped a lot because it brought down that tension and anxiety.
Well, on that note, tension and anxiety, we'll start off with the question I think you'll like, which is, we just saw that crime through 7 months this year just hit a record low in New York. What's been the secret to lowering it?
A number of things. Number one, you can't have homicides by gun violence if people have guns. And we took off the streets close to 23,000 illegal guns. Wow. 3,100 of them this year alone. And when I ran for office, I stated I was going to put in place a gun apprehension unit. And the combination of good, smart policing and just heads up routine patrol, going after hot spots, being clear on where gun violence is located and zooming in on that just allowed us to really remove these dangerous guns off our streets. Now we have a challenge because in many of our bordering counties and other states, gun laws are very lax. When you have someone that has a mental health issue, can purchase or obtain a gun, drive across the country, walk in a building with one intention, and that's to take the life of an innocent person or people, we have to police that, and we have to police those who are in our city that are in possession of illegal guns. But it's good heads up, zone policing, focusing on hot spots, and having police officers have the comfortability to do their job to go after these bad guys.
So violent crime and homicides in particular have dropped significantly.
Yes.
One thing that we do notice a lot of though now is open drug use. And even in nice neighborhoods of the city, walking to work, you see people shooting up. What is the city doing about that, and how has that become such an issue?
Yeah, and it is an issue we're cracking down on. We created what we call our Q teams, our quality of life teams, and they're going after quality of life issues, open drug use, abandoned vehicles, illegal dumping, all of these things that would make the New Yorkers feel unsafe. It's one thing to say, listen, we have the lowest number of shooters and homicides in the first 6 months of this year, but if people are not feeling safe, it does no good for anyone. And so we are now focusing on those quality of life issues. The police commissioner put in place these Q teams, and it's a real win for all of us because we're now focusing on how people are feeling about their safety. Now, we have certain spots where you're seeing that open drug use. It's not citywide. Like the hub in the Bronx, we did a real initiative there to clean up that problem. 34th Street near the bus terminal is extremely a local place that people come and socialize because it's near the bus terminal, it's near the businesses, you get some panhandling, and we're really focusing on that. So there are particular places where you're seeing this open drug use. It is not throughout the entire city. You know, you're not gonna walk down the block in South Jamaica, Queens, or in St. Albans or other parts of the city and see this. It is normally localized where there's a lot of retail shops, transportation, where you're seeing some of this take place.
You know, the biggest question, I was talking to friends before today about what would you ask the mayor, and we asked our audience, and one thing you hear all the time, and it goes back to maybe perception versus reality, although this is a reality everyone experiences, I see it all the time too, is there are on subways a lot of crazy people.
Yes.
That's just how you would say it, like people harassing, sometimes women,
Yes.
they might be barely have clothes on, whatever. How do you crack down on that?
Great, that's a great question, and I hear that also. A couple of things. There are many frequent flyers who are just repeatedly in our system.
Yes.
And when you see them, if you pick up the paper, you read about someone shoving someone to the subway track, and then you walk into your subway and you see someone undressed or soiled clothing, human waste on them, yelling and screaming, now it's connecting to what you saw or read and what you saw. So you have a tendency to believe that, oh my God, these guys are all over the place and no one is doing anything about them. When in fact it's not true. We are. We have put in place 2 programs that have been extremely successful. One is called PATH, another one is called Scout. We send police officers out with mental health professionals and engage the people. Now, we have a person on the system who physically looks like he can't take care of himself, or he's in danger to himself or others. You have to speak with them and build trust to get them off the system. We tried to get something called involuntary removal that would give us the authority to say, you are in danger to yourself, in danger to others. We are going to involuntarily take you off the system and give you the care that you need. The lawmakers would not give us that authority. I think it was a big mistake, because I, like other commuters on our subway system, you don't want to see this every day. It plays on your psyche, and we have many of those cases where someone is struck for no reason at all, or someone is shoved to the train station. Overwhelmingly, the person has a mental health issue and they're going through a crisis. We should be preventive and not reactionary, but if we don't have the power to do so, we will have to engage that person, try to speak with them, and encourage them to get care. Now, we've been successful over 8,000 times, but if the person goes right back and do it again, it makes it an extreme challenge on our part.
Now, you've been pretty outspoken on all these issues in public safety. I think you're kind of known for that. Yeah, a lot of people think that New York City is a very progressive city, evidenced by Zohran's popularity right now, among other things. But a lot of people think these progressive policies are undermining some of your mission. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. These policies, they sound good on paper, but they are terrible in practice. And there's a difference between idealism and realism. And that is something many people don't understand. I think a perfect example is what you were talking about with people with mental health. Some of his policies, he wants to place shelters in our subway system for people with mental health. That sounds good, but it is not practical. So the difference between things that sound good and practical is different. Telling a police officer not to respond to a domestic violence incident. That's the most one of the most dangerous jobs a police officer can go on. Officer Mora and Rivera, the 2 officers that were slain in my first few weeks in office as mayor, they were going on a domestic violence job. And I saw the tape. The tape was never released, but they were assassinated. the person who killed them lured them into the location and assassinated them. And so if you send a civilian on that job, not understanding how dangerous it is, you are exposing that civilian to danger. Or even telling officers that they're not going to investigate hate crimes. You're going to have a civilian do that. There's a reason police investigate hate crimes, to make sure that you're not harming innocent civilians. Or unlocking Rikers and letting out 7,400 of the most dangerous people in our city. They're going to go back to the communities that they preyed on and re-victimize these communities again. And so these policies, they undermine public safety in a real way, and we can't go backwards after we have recovered so much public safety ground.
There are so many things we want to ask you about. One, on the subject of public safety, and also a divide among Democrats that you were in the crosshairs with, was the issue of immigration. And you saw hundreds of thousands of migrants come to New York City. They overwhelmed public housing and the city's resources, and you called it out. You called out the Biden administration. They were upset. We want to know what happened behind the scenes when you did that, and you basically said there's a crisis in New York, and you said that you started sending people away. What was behind the scenes? Did people from the DNC or elsewhere go after you hard? Were they brutal? What happened?
Yeah, and I think it's really unfortunate. And when I spoke with mayors across the country who were impacted by the migrant and asylum seeker crisis, they all privately shared with me that this is unfair, what they're doing to us. They were sending a national problem into local cities to fix or to hold on to. And it was just so unfair because many of these cities, Chicago, Denver, Houston, Los Angeles, they were going through their own crises. And the dollars that they were receiving was to deal with their crisis. It cost us $7.7 billion. Now, some people would look at it and say, okay, the border is under control now. We're not getting 4,000 migrants and asylum seekers a week anymore, 8,000 every 2 weeks, at the height, almost 16,000 a month, 237,000 overall. That's a city, was dropped into our city. We had to build a shelter system that was built in 40 years. We had to build it with less than a year. I mean, it was just unbelievable, the impact of having the buses coming in and having the far left tell us, you need to house and do all these things that were just not realistic. We were able to accomplish that. Now, one child of family slept on the streets of the city of New York. 90% of those who came in our care, they are now taking the next step of their journey. But in the midst of that, all of my conversations with the White House, several times speaking with the president directly and speaking with his senior staff, there was a clear blind eye and deaf ear to the impact of our city and other cities. Even when I went to El Paso and went further into the Darien Gap, they just didn't want to hear. And I strongly believe that because of my advocacy fighting for this city, I became the victim of lawfare, of saying that, you're not a good Democrat, we're coming after you. And I saw what happened. And many people never read the indictment. And I couldn't speak about it because the case was still on, and lawyers would tell you, shut your mouth, let the cases play out. And it was hard for me because I'm a fighter and I'm used to fighting for myself. But I was indicted for calling the Department of Buildings and asking the Department of, for calling the fire department, the commissioner of the fire department, and saying, can you go do a building inspection for the Turkish consulate, because the president was coming here for UN week. Can you go do a building inspection? Not to pass them, not to do anything inappropriate, just go do the darn building inspection. This is what lawmakers do. And so the creativity of the prosecutors, they said, well, you may have paid for flights on Turkish Airlines, but you got an upgrade. Although it was never said that that was a gift. People get upgrades all the time if the seat is not sold. Because you did that over the years, we're going to tie it and say that you were being bribed. because you called and asked them to do a building inspection. Now, in the text message, it says, if you can't go do the building inspection, let me know, and I'll manage their expectation. I don't know how one can say that's threatening someone. And so when you looked at the case, you ask yourself, this is what we're going after a sitting mayor for doing his job and for leg room? I was facing 33 years in prison. 33 years in prison. And then when you add the same prosecutor who did this to me was the prosecutor that went after Brian Benjamin. Brian Benjamin was the highest ranking African American in the state. He was the lieutenant governor. They brought him up on charges for receiving a contribution in this campaign from a legitimate person attached to a nonprofit. The judge dismissed the case before going to trial. The judge dismissed the case, but it destroyed his life. And so after this prosecutor resigned, after the new administration came in, he opened a campaign-like website showing that, hey, here are people I took down. Because his whole desire appeared to have been to run for office, even at the expense of destroying careers of many two prominent lawmakers in the city. And so President Biden said his Justice Department was politicized. President Trump said it. I said it. Brian said it. We all saw what happened, and countless other Americans who were just defending their families, even around what they wanted their children to be taught in school. They were put on FBI watch lists. It was just wrong. And we're finding out every day more and more information in burn bags. More and more information we're finding out.
You sound a little bit like a conservative when you say some of that stuff. And in the past, I've heard you talk about Kash Patel and his book, Government Gangsters and the Deep State. I know you're running as an independent. Mm-hmm. Where do you find yourself politically now? I mean, do you still consider yourself a liberal?
Yeah, I like that. That's a good question. First, I want to talk about Kash Patel's book. In the midst of what I was going through, someone said, you should read this book. And I read it. And when the charges were dropped against me, I told Americans, you should read this book, because our criminal justice system can't be hijacked. And just think for a moment, I don't know if many people realize, the Southern District of New York stated that they are sovereign. Sovereign. There is no sovereign entity in America. People talk about the president, but imagine a prosecutorial body saying, we answer to no one. Even Main Justice, they felt they didn't answer to. That can't happen in America. And so when you ask, where am I on a political spectrum, I am, what I try to share to people all the time, I am a American. I just believe in the country. And sometimes I may have a conservative view on something. Sometimes I will have a liberal view on something. It depends on the topic. When it comes down to law enforcement, many who are far left don't agree with my principles that innocent people should not be the victims of crime. I don't believe in opening Rikers Island and letting everyone out. Do I have various views? Yes, I do. And so I'm still a Democrat. I am running on an independent line as a Democrat, but I think, like many Americans, we have various views. And I just think it's unfair when we attempt to pigeonhole Americans. If you don't believe in this, then you are not a part of this party or that party. I think I am like every other American. You have different views and feelings on different topics.
We have some rapid fire questions to get to,
Yes.
but before that, we've got to get to a certain figure I'm sure you've thought a lot about recently, Zohran Mamdani. Mm-hmm. We've kind of addressed him so far in this interview. I want to hear sort of what your take is on why he's so popular, because we were thinking about that on the way here. Given how New York voted, where almost a third of this city voted for Donald Trump, and which is way more Republican share than recent election. So it's not like that the city's gone off the deep. How is Zohran Mamdani so popular? Are people who otherwise don't agree with his policies like him so much? And he's the favorite to win the mayoral election.
Well, first let's define popular. Around 9% of the voters voted of the registered voters voted. 2.5 million Democrats did not vote. 1 million independents did not vote. Several 100,000 Republicans did not vote. And so he was popular in the Democratic primary, so about 1.1 million people. He won the most of those 1.1 million people. So he was popular there. I think what is being lost here is that people believe that mission accomplished, and it's not. It's not. No, our decision of who's going to be mayor is in November. It's not in June. Yeah. It's in November. Yeah. And so what I must do right now is to go after those 2.5 million, the 1 million, the 3, 4, almost 4 million people. I must go after those almost 4 million people. That's a huge pool. They were not motivated enough to come out for Mamdani. They were not motivated enough to come out for Cuomo and some of the other people who were running. Now I must motivate them, give them my history, show them why Mamdani policies are dangerous for New York and the gang that he hangs out with, the DSA. The DSA, they do not like our way of life. So we're not only running against him, we're running against an organization, an entity that they do not like our way of life. And that's what we're defending. And I think it's very important that all New Yorkers ask the question of what do we want our city to be? Do we want to hurt small property landowners? Do we want to hurt small businesses by having government-run grocery stores and compete with small businesses and destabilize them? Do we want to go back on violence and defund our police department, although verbally he now says he no longer believes that, but he ran in the campaign on that premise, so either he lied to those who voted for him and now he's telling a different story? Do we want to change the direction of our city? Those are the questions. I'm not in a city where I want to tell billionaires to leave, because they pay a substantial amount of our taxes. I want the person who drives the limousine to be paid a respectable salary and have prosperity in the city. And I want the person that sits in the back of the limousine to be able to use their discretionary dollars and invest in our museums, in our streets, in our schools. That's the financial ecosystem I believe in. I don't want to demonize any part of the city because we're in this together.
Andrew Cuomo has said that he's not on a suicide mission and he will drop out of the race if he is trailing you in the polls. Have you spoken to Andrew Cuomo about what will happen ahead of the election, and do you believe that he would drop out and let you challenge?
No, he is a professional distorter of reality. But think about this for a moment. Think about this. He has put a date, September, the beginning of September, okay? Let's say we followed his argument. At that same amount of days from the election, he was up, 20 points in the poll? And then the day before the election, his campaign said he was up 10 points in the poll. He lost by 13 points. So anyone that understands politics, like he understands politics, he knows the last 3 weeks, that's the race. So if he wants to make a decision 6 weeks out, let's say we would have followed that logic 6 weeks out, whoever was behind Andrew Cuomo would drop out of the race. He would have won without winning. This is his scam. This is what he does. This is what we have to understand. He knows that the race is going to be in the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's when people are back from vacation, people are paying attention. That gives me the opportunity to communicate with voters. He just spent $25 million and lost by double digits. So to me, to run again is a suicide mission. So you can't buy that scam. It is a scam that he has created. He's the best at creating scams, tricking mirrors. Listen, he would put Houdini to shame.
Okay, I think he has a new slogan if he wants professional distortive reality. If he wants that for Mayor, do we have time for a couple quick rapid fire questions?
Fire away.
Okay.
Fire
wait,
away.
real quickly. These will be fast.
Yeah.
There's a debate right now. What are the four most American, the four biggest, most relevant cities in America?
New York, New York, New York, New York.
There we go. Who do you like better on a personal level, President Biden or Donald Trump?
I think both of them have positive attributes. I cannot thank the president enough for talking about what happened to me on the campaign trail and thanking him for highlighting that I was treated unfairly.
Yeah.
Do you have a take on the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad campaign?
I think that we've become too politically correct that, men are ashamed to be handsome and women are ashamed to be feminine. We need to get away from that madness, she should be happy how she looks, and whatever campaign she wants to do to express that, more power to her.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Adam.
Really fun. Thank you, Mayor. We had to
Appreciate
get
your time.
something in. Yeah, thank you so much.